Hello Ice and Fire Nerds, this is Chris, and this will continue our Game of Thrones foreshadowing series, and we'll pick up right where we left off and finish off Season 1, Episode 6, A Golden Crown.
Dracarys.
So let's jump right back in. We see Ned on the throne, and Littlefinger kind of pushes Ned to go after the Lannisters.
Isn't that your wife's house? Tully, my Lord Hand.
So we see Ned go after the Lannisters through the mountain, basically, because House Clegane is one of Tywin's biggest bannermen. And this is basically the final straw for this. So basically Ned sees anybody who's done wrong as dishonorable and they will be called to justice, and of course he goes after Tywin Lannister, which directly goes against the interest of Cersei, and this is basically the beginning of the end for Ned here. And this also introduces us to Beric Dondarrion.
Lord Beric Dondarrion. You shall have the command. Assemble 100 men and ride to Sir Gregor's keep.
As you command.
And of course at this point we have no idea how important he's going to be, but later on we see this.
What makes you a soldier? Beric Dondarrion. You've seen better days.
And I won't see them again.
What are you doing? Leading a mob of peasants.
Ned Stark ordered me to execute your brother in King Robert's name.
Ned Stark is dead. King Robert is dead. My brother's alive.
Now later on, of course, he's formed the Brotherhood Without Banners, and we've learned he's died 6 times and has been resurrected by Thoros of Myr, and that kind of gives us a hint that other people could be resurrected, which included Jon Snow, and we still don't know really how important Beric is to this story. And during the same scene in the throne room, we hear Ned say this.
Gold wins wars, not soldiers.
And how come Robert is king and not Tywin Lannister?
And Littlefinger is absolutely right. Maybe in the old days, Ned, maybe in the old days. In this day and age of Littlefinger and Varys and their scheming, gold does win wars, and of course that leads directly to this.
I, Joffrey of the House Baratheon, first of my name, the rightful king of the Andals and the First Men, Lord of the 7 Kingdoms and protector of the realm, do hereby proclaim my grandfather, Tywin Lannister, the savior of the city and the hand of the king.
Thank you, Your Grace.
So essentially this foreshadowed that Tywin, the one being called out by Ned, would in fact become the hand of the king again, and essentially Tywin is the king in a way. Although Joffrey was a bastard and a little bit harder to control, Tywin was essentially king because of his age, and he was definitely in control once Tommen became king because he was basically too young, and Tywin started working on Tommen immediately after Joffrey died, before his body was even cold. So in the end, Littlefinger was right, gold does win wars. And in our next scene we see Bronn fight for Tyrion.
You don't fight with honor.
No. He did.
Now this scene basically establishes that Bronn will become Tyrion's right-hand man throughout this series, but it also shows that Tyrion has a knack for being charged with things he didn't actually do, and we see this later.
Not give my life for Joffrey's murder, and I know I'll get no justice here, so I will let the gods decide my fate. I demand a trial by combat.
And in kind of a reverse parallel, of course, when Tyrion has his next trial as far as needing a champion to fight for him being charged with the murder of Joffrey, we see him ask Bronn to fight for him once again, and we see this.
Does he frighten you so much?
I'd be a bloody fool if he didn't frighten me. He's freakish big and freakish strong. But one misstep, and I'm dead. Why should I risk it?
Because you're my friend.
Aye, I'm your friend.
So basically Bronn, after acquiring a little bit of wealth, and of course becoming knighted after the Battle of the Blackwater, he won't risk his life anymore for Tyrion because he's already pretty much set, and of course he's just scared to go up against a mountain. And in our next scene we see Sansa and Septa Mordane.
Do you even have hair under there?
Yes. I have hair.
I've never seen it.
Would you like to?
No. Where are you from anyway? The north or the south?
I come from a very small
Wait.
village in a...
I just realised I don't care.
Sansa.
Except her.
Now, nothing particular here except the fact that Sansa's just an asshole. And also we see Joffrey come along and do this.
With your permission.
It's beautiful.
So this scene is Joffrey pretending to be nice, and of course that's exactly what he's not. And later on we see this.
No, please, no!
This one's your father. This one here. Look at it and see what happens to traitors.
You promised to be merciful.
I was. I gave him a clean death. After I raise my armies and kill your traitor brother, I'm going to give you his head as well.
Or maybe he'll give me yours.
My mother tells me a king should never strike his lady. Samara.
So Joffrey pretends to be nice to Sansa because his mother said, you know, it'll save you some trouble down the road, and of course ends up torturing Sansa by showing her her father's head and getting Meryn Trant, that bastard, to beat her whenever he pleased. And during the same scene, Joffrey says this.
Like the one your mother wears.
You'll be queen someday. It's only fitting you should look the part.
So we really haven't seen this payoff yet, but perhaps one day she'll be queen in the north, or perhaps queen of the Seven Kingdoms. And also in this same scene, Joffrey says this.
You're my lady now. From this day until my last day.
So he says until his last day, and that leads, of course, to this. So that doesn't really mean anything as far as foreshadowing or parallel moments, but he mentions his last day, and I just enjoy watching his last damn day. You're welcome. In our next scene, we see Roz leaving Winterfell.
So I'll have lots of company.
Yes, she'll be very popular. Until some fat lord comes to visit with a big belly and a little prick, and he can't get it up, so he knocks all your teeth out.
Oh, what will happen to me if I stay here? Will I become Lady Greyjoy? Mistress of the Iron Island?
Don't be a fool.
So we see Roz heading to King's Landing because she says the war's already started and she's going to be better off there. And of course the previous scene they just showed Joffrey, and later on that leads to this.
Many who try to climb it fail, never get to try again. The fall breaks them.
So she left the north and Winterfell, particularly Wintertown, thinking she has something better waiting for her in King's Landing, but it didn't work out so well and she ended up biting the dust because Joffrey's a cunt. But during this same scene, we hear Theon say,
"Going to miss you!"
I know!
So Theon says she's going to miss her, and Roz says, I know, and that leads to this.
I love you.
I know.
Oops, never mind, that's the wrong show. So in our next scene, we see Ned on his cane after being stabbed in the leg, heading back to Arya and Sansa.
I'm sending you both back to Winterfell.
What?
Listen.
What about Joffrey?
Are you dying because of your leg? Is that why you're sending us home?
What? No.
Please, Father, please don't.
You can't. I've got my lessons with Syrio. I'm finally getting good.
It isn't a punishment.
The main point of this scene was that it gave Ned the idea of what he was looking for and what Jon Arryn had already stumbled across, and that was when Arya said this.
Even gentle and strong, I want him. He'll be the greatest king that ever was, a golden lion, and I'll give him sons with beautiful blonde hair.
The lion's not a sigil, idiot. He's a stag like his father.
He is not. He's nothing like that old drunk king.
So Arya mentions the sigils, and of course that gave Ned the idea, and he went and verified that in his books, and of course that showed that Joffrey was actually Jaime's. So Ned discovers the truth, but of course Ned being honorable and thinking back to children not being responsible for their parents' sins, that of course leads to his conversation with Cersei. Now, the point of all this being here is that this reminds Ned of the past when Rhaegar's children were killed during the sack of King's Landing. He doesn't want the same thing to happen to Cersei's children because, after all, no matter what you think of them, Tommen, Joffrey, and Myrcella, it's not their fault who their parents are, and he wants them actually to be safe. So he actually gives Cersei a warning here and says, when Robert gets back, I'm going to tell him the truth. So take your shit and get the hell out of here so your kids won't die. I won't have their blood on my hands because he knows how Robert is. And of course, anytime Ned thinks about children being killed innocently, just like they were during the sack of King's Landing, this is kind of pointing back to R + L = J and him protecting Jon Snow. And finally, to wrap up this episode, we see this.
Annie, please!
A crown for king.
And of course, this absolutely confirms the theme of this entire episode and what was building up since episode 1, that Viserys is no true dragon. Dany is the true dragon because after his death and him dying by fire via the molten gold, Dany says this.
He was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
And now she's absolutely 100% sure that she is the true dragon and that she has a bigger destiny ahead. So anyway, guys, that'll do it for this episode. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my Patreon executive smokescreen producers, Griffin, Vol Guy 10, Lala Gig, Kissa Powell, Marc Joseph, aka the Snow in Winterfell, and Marylin Bentley. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to everybody out there in YouTube land for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and make sure you click that little notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. And be sure to give me a like if you dig what I do here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.